Hello and welcome to Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. How you all doing this morning? It is Friday. Oh, I got coffee. Thank you, Catherine. Um, it is Friday, the 21st of March, 2025. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Sarah Davis is in there already with a super chat. Thank you so much, Sarah. That is very, very kind of you. Really appreciate that. And if you are so minded to join Diz and Billy Kershaw and Megan Elite and Scott and Purity Vendetta and Katrina Tam and Joanna in the chat, all you need to do is hit that nice juicy subscribe button and subscribe to the chat and subscribe to the channel, and you can join the chat, but don't be a troll. Right, okay, so we're going to be talking about, Trump in a way, because we're going to be talking about the fact that he's gutting the Department of Education in America and the knock-on effects that's going to be, but also the fact that I blame this genuinely, right? I blame it on JK Rowling, okay? This is maybe intended consequences of her transphobia. But, you've got to think about this for a moment. It's a bit mad, isn't it? Isn't it a bit mad that, she's the woman who made all her money telling a story about a kid who went to wizard school and came up against all this kind of prejudice and bigotry and overcame it. And the big bad people were the ones who didn't regard certain people as real wizards because they were mudbloods, because they had muggle parents. Yeah. Let's get into it. Anne Phillips first, though. Thank you very much for the £10 super chat. It's very kind of you. I apologise for mentioning the wrong anthem last night. I wasn't trolling you. I just liked the song and didn't think, let's campaign for a non-specific football national anthem going forward. Oh no, Anne, no. Look, it's fine. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I used to be a choir boy, right? And we sang "You'll Never Walk Alone" for so many weddings and funerals. People loved having that song at a funeral. And I think in the original movie of Carousel, or the musical, I don't know, I've seen the movie. They sing it at a funeral. It's a funeral song, which is a bit mad, isn't it? The people have it at their weddings as well and sing it at the football match. But it is a great song. It is. I've got to give it. It's better than Z Cars. It's better than Z Cars. But if you know your history, so yeah, what else have we got in the chat? Colin says, "Is this about Czechia, the country with the most beautiful anthem I've heard?" It's got a fantastic. It's taken from an operetta or a musical from the Victorian era, I think. It's pretty epic. It's an epic sound, which is kind of cool. So and no one will be booing it. Although my favorite national anthem in the world is the Spanish national anthem because it's got no words. I'm being somebody who can't sing for toffee. Anyway, look, I digress. But thank you very much, Anne, for the super chat, and no need to apologise at all. So what happened yesterday in the US is not just US news. It's a global warning. Trump's executive order to gut the Department of Education. We're going to be talking today about what it means and why it's so dangerous. And we're going to draw a line between culture war rhetoric and real world policy that harms children, a direct line of consequence. And the framing question I've got to ask is, how did we get here? And I honestly blame JK Rowling. Some of you in the chat might think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think there is a direct line from this transphobia that JK Rowling started. I don't know if she'd been on Mumsnet or she was radicalized by some madrasa she went to in some country that she became this sort of zealot, absolute zealot for making trans children feel excluded and making them feel worthless and acting and transphobia, as Rachel often says on this channel, it is a Trojan horse for getting in discrimination against gay people, the LGBT community as a whole, but also discrimination against what we're seeing now. Obviously against women with the repeal of Roe versus Wade, but now you're seeing discrimination that's been enabled by that Trojan horse against black kids who will now be segregated in certain states in America in schools. So we're going back to school segregation, and there's going to be no federal department to stop that from happening. And then it moves on to disabled children who will not get the assistance that they require because there's no Department of Education to oversee that, and they won't get it at a state level, depending on what state they live in. Because some states in America are a right state. Yeah, funny. I made a joke. So let's talk about Trump's executive order to eliminate, his words, the Department of Education. The symbolism of all this, he did this. He signed the order surrounded by school desks and kids. They did out the Oval Office or wherever in the White House to make it look like it was like a schoolroom. The goal is to push federal responsibilities to the states, regardless of whether they are competent or malicious. And what the Department of Education actually does, it doesn't set the curriculum. That is something that's done on a state level. It doesn't decide whether you should have a Bible in every classroom or something mad like that. That's what it happens on a state level. No, it administers federal student loans, which is going to be massive. And we should talk about this maybe later in the show. But think about those student loans. Where are they all going to go? Where are they all going to go? Like some company is going to buy them and then be charging the kids in America, the young people in America who owe tens of thousands of dollars. They'll be charging them interest rates up the kazoo. Not great. Oh, we've had a gift. We've had a gift of 10 memberships from Andrew Dixon before we even got started. Thank you so much, Andrew Dixon. That is very kind of you. Joe Lefty Boater is now a member of the channel. This is really cool. Paul N is a member, and Bruno is a member. Jeanette and Night Parade. We've also got Chris Mack in there. We've got Rustin Ho. UK Medsy is now a member, and we've got the Gin Snitcher and Shane K. Welcome, new members to the channel. This is very exciting. Brilliant. Thank you so much to Andrew Dixon there. Very kind of you, Andrew, as always. And yeah, if any of those people who have just mentioned want to write something in the chat here, they should get a little rose after their name now. Yes. How's that for an upgrade? So, and the rose changes color the longer you are a member. So, yeah, what Trump has done is he's trying to take this away from the student loans, the administration of the student loans, but also what the Department of Education does, and something this is close to my heart because of my situation here in my life. It supports children with disabilities, so children who are deaf, children who are blind, children who have mobility issues. When they don't want to be, when the states don't want to support them because what southern states are like, the US government steps in and gives them the support that they need to go to a normal school and to live a normal student life, and they're going to take that away. It also provides vital programs for low-income students. It enforces civil rights in education. As I've said just before, this is going to lead to segregation. This is going to lead to apartheid in states in America. Now, thousands of staff have been cut from the Department of Education. Programs have been defunded or reassigned, and student loans have been left in limbo. And you're talking like billions and billions of dollars worth of loans, which Trump is going to sell to one of his cronies. Or he's going to set up Trump Loans Inc. at 16.66% compound interest. And yeah, this is like this is just so awful on so many levels. And we've got to talk about the culture war that led the way to this. Thousands of staff losing their jobs, the return of segregation logic of let the states decide, the Doge and Elon Musk's role, political ideology disguised as efficiency. And don't make no mistake, this is about power, control, and ideological cleansing. It's not education. It's got nothing to do with education. Mike Judge's idiocracy was set 500 years in the future. He threw that net out way too far. He only needed to put it 25 years in the future from when that movie was made, 2030. That's what we have become. Well, what America has become. In fact, not even that. 20 years, 2025. This is how far-right extremists have reframed education as woke indoctrination. They have weaponized, with the help of ghouls like Rowling, they have weaponized fear of diversity, allowing people from different ethnic backgrounds to participate in life, equality, letting people who have disabilities or have other problems that mean that they find it difficult to just lead a normal life or just lead the same life as their classmates and their peers. Um, this whole thing of like they've weaponized the fear of that happening, of everyone getting a fair whack of, you know, the a fair crack of the whip, you know. Fear of LGBTQI inclusion and racial justice. This a lot of this stemmed from the anti-Black Lives Matter, the rejection of Black Lives Matter by white people like Elon Musk, a white African, who says, "Oh, we need to move on from racism. People just need to get over it." Very easy for a white man who grew up in an apartheid state, whose daddy owned an emerald mine. Very easy for a rich white kid to say that, by the way. Yeah, we just need to get over it. We just need to get over it, he said to Don Lemon, who's a black guy who presents the news in America. We just need to get over it. And Don Lemon's sitting there going, what the hell? What is this guy? What is he? This stuttering monster. So that the attack isn't just on schools and inclusion and diversity in schools. It's also on universities. It's dismantling intellectual freedom. These attacks on elite universities, and the consequences of that are going to echo through the ages. You know, maybe JK Rowling will cark it due to a disease that would have been cured had she not gone down this route that she went down and got everyone who's rich and powerful on side to say the most evil thing that anyone could possibly be is transgender. That's what she said. That's what she did. She went into this eyes open, knowing exactly the consequences that lay down the road if she went down it, and she went down it anyway, skipping and laughing to her demented, sick self. And now, research grants in universities are being cut or taken away entirely for being too inclusive. And those inclusions don't just cover things that, a paper on trans people. No. Women's health will be impacted by this. I mean, it'll be worse for black women. Of course it will, because black women suffer worse health outcomes than white women. You see how many black women die in childbirth is a lot higher than the number of white women who die in childbirth. There's a reason for that, because of lack of research. And everyone's different. Everyone's different, and some people need different care, different drugs, different procedures, depending on who they are. No one's fault. It's just the way it is. And what we need is research. And what this cutting of the Department of Education in America does is just take away that research. And this is the Rowling connection that I want to talk about. Her anti-trans crusade is to me is ground zero for normalizing institutional cruelty and passing it off as common sense, passing it this bigotry off as just, well, I mean, can we just get back to common sense? And also this lie that it's somehow protecting women. If you want to protect women, go after cisgender men. They're the ones who cause the most harm to women, not trans women. I don't even think there's been a case in the world of a cisgender woman being attacked by a trans person in a toilet. Maybe like one. Trans athletes, all six of them, in the whole of the United States, and they're like, oh no, we need laws to stop this kind of thing, because we're really interested in women in sports. Yeah, these are the same ghouls that until the 1980s made it all but illegal for women to play football. So, for instance, if Goodison, my old stadium, obviously they're moving later this year, but if Goodison hosted a women's football match before the early 80s, they would be banned from having any men's FA matches. I know, mind-blowing. So that would be it. There'll be no more Everton men's team playing against any other team in what was then the First Division. This is before the Premiership. And that's the system we had. Women tennis players getting a fraction of what the male tennis players get for winning the same trophy. Women discriminated against at every level. Cheerleaders in America not given any health insurance, even though the stunts they perform are arguably more dangerous than the football matches that the guys with all the armor are playing, with all the padding and the helmets and everything. Yeah. Cheerleaders don't get helmets. If they fall off a pyramid when they jump down onto the ground, they can break their neck. And that's it. Nothing. They get nothing. The discrimination is there. The discrimination against women is there. It's not coming from trans women because they're being discriminated against as well. From JK Rowling's men in dresses comment to funding anti-trans legal cases. Her obsessive, and it is absolutely obsessive rhetoric has just paved the way for trans people, especially children, to become the cultural scapegoats of our time. The contradiction here is she got rich from telling a story about fighting bigotry, and now she is the bigotry for which everyone else justifies their bigotry. Oh, well, it's okay for me to be a bigot because JK Rowling is. Countless thought pieces in the opinion pieces. Not really. They don't put much thought into it. Opinion pieces in the right wing rags like the Daily Mail and the Express and the Sun, saying, "Oh, trans people are doing this, trans people doing that. Oh, it's all their fault." No, it's all the fault of JK Rowling and Maya Forrester and Graham Linehan and all these horrible little ghouls on Twitter with the, King transphobe Elon Musk, who talks about his daughter being dead because she transitioned. She transitioned. How dare Vivian lead her best life? Some people have kids and you just wonder why. It's not to love them or nurture them. It's just an ego trip. It's just a freaking ego trip. Thank you very much to Jason J. The research will continue. They're guaranteeing it'll come from ascendant countries like China in future. Yes, it will. But will China share that? Do they have open resources like what America has? I don't think so. And that knowledge will propagate through around the world. It'll just take longer. I mean, they might make a breakthrough and we might not hear about it for 10, 15 years. And in that time, people will die unnecessarily. And, to go back to JK Rowling, her crusade, thank you very much for the super chat, by the way. I really appreciate it. Rowling's crusade provides intellectual cover for a far-right movement that has no interest in children's safety whatsoever, only in one thing: control. They want control of our youth. They want control of teenagers. They want control of their universities and what people are allowed to say in universities and what they're allowed to do. And do you think JK Rowling is happy now? She woke up this morning and went, "I've done it. Take that, Department of Education." Because let's break down what this means. Disabled students will lose vital support that allows them to get the same level of education as everybody else. When Kat was a kid, and we'd known each other since school, when my partner was a kid, she had to fight. Her parents had to fight to get her into a mainstream school because she was deaf. And she wasn't born deaf. She went deaf when she was 4, so she could talk normally. She can read and write, and she's got a brilliant mind. She ended up getting a PhD in physics from Durham, which is above my pay grade. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't do that. And yet, she was looking at having to go to a deaf school. And the standard of education in a deaf school in the 80s was abominable. You had 11-year-olds who should be learning about 1066, Battle of Hastings, should be learning about the Roman Empire, should be learning French, should be learning German, they were doing their ABCs. They were at the grade that you would have been at like 4, 5 years old at school, 5, 6 years old at school, in primary school. And that was the option back then. Go to the deaf school and get out of school with knowing the very, very basics to try and get on in life and have to be looked after. for the rest of your life. Not having any self-determination, not having any agency, having that agency taken away from you through no fault of your own. Luckily, Kat ended up going to another school in Liverpool and then came to my school for sixth form. And that made all the difference. The fact that she was allowed to do that. And that support that she needed, the extra support she needed, which wasn't much, but it was that the teacher had a radio and she had a hearing aid headset on, and so she could hear the teacher better than she otherwise would have been able to. That support equivalent for kids in America who are deaf is going to be taken away. So the deaf kid is going to sit at the back of the class, not being able to follow what the teacher's saying, because when you're deaf, you've got to work out everything. It's like the difference between doing a quick crossword and a cryptic crossword. Okay, like, I'm sure there's some of you out there who enjoy doing cryptic crosswords. I enjoy them myself. I indulge myself. But like, the difference is whether something is just plainly obvious because people are saying it, it's coming out their mouths, and you got subtitles or whatever, and whether you're only getting half of what they're saying. You're having to make a guess for pretty much every word, trying to get the gist of something. Is this funny? Is this sad? Is this exciting? You don't know. And the kids at the back of the class who have got hearing problems are going to have real difficulty. The kids who are blind are going to have real difficulty. If schools don't have a ramp to get kids who are in wheelchairs into the school and out the school. But then again, I mean, this is a country where they don't really care about the safety of kids anyway, do they? They don't really care about them getting shot. But yeah, disabled kids lose vital support, and trans kids, I mean, they're already bullied, they're already marginalized, but now they're going to be openly targeted by state level policies, which include the policies that are trying to go through in certain states in America, which are just abominable, talking about genital inspections for children, external and internal. Like, what the fuck? See, it's like a pedo's charter. And this is happening now. If any parent points at a child and says, I think that little girl is actually a boy, I want an inspection of that little girl. And it's actually being codified in law in certain states that small child, if they want to play sports, will have to show their genitals to, who fucking knows? Some gruesome old pedo. By law. And, we talk about Gilead. We're not far off. We're really not far off. Students of colour, immigrant children, and anyone outside the conservative white Christian mould will face hostility and neglect through this ruling. Segregation, religious indoctrination, even child labour bills are all back on the table. Having children work at the age of 8 on the family farm. And this is structural cruelty masquerading as reform. And then you've got the higher ed crackdown, Donald Trump's war on universities, slashing research grants, as we've already discussed, deporting undesirable students and academics, attacking institutions like Columbia University, Harvard as anti-American. This is how far down the rabbit hole these far-right thinkers have gone. There are parallels here with Putin, Orban, and other authoritarian regimes who always start with the universities. They start with the students. Hitler did as well. Hitler started with trans people and students. Wow. Loss of international prestige is going to come from this, scientific excellence and innovation, as we've discussed. And there's going to be there already is a culture of fear on campuses. What happens when a society openly declares war on knowledge, on knowing stuff, on reading books? They're banning books left, right, and centre all across America. And to me, I just think of the line from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It tells me that goose-stepping morons like yourself should try reading books instead of burning them. I apologise for my Sean Connery there. It just slipped in. So yeah, the global context in this is why it matters, and why it matters to the UK and Europe and beyond. Cultural movements cross borders, and JK Rowling's transphobia crossed from the UK over to the US and poisoned the well in the US amongst liberals, amongst people who were on the left, who thought they weren't bigoted, who thought they weren't being cruel, they thought they were being feminists, they thought that they were protecting the rights of women, and they were misled to this idea that you could be something called a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist. You can't. It's an oxymoron. If you are trans exclusionary, you are not a feminist. By definition, those two things cannot go together in one person. If you are a transphobe, you are not a feminist, because the intersectionality is there for everyone to see. We've talked about it a lot on this channel. I don't need to go into it anymore this morning because we've got a lot to get through. But our own institutions in this country are under pressure from similar forces. The far-right playbook: scapegoat minorities, dismantle public services, claim it's for the people. And JK Rowling is British. She started on our soil. And we need to give our solidarity now to US educators, students, parents fighting back as best we can. There's not much we can do over here. It's not like we can boycott schools in America that are bringing back segregation, or openly being transphobic or pedophilic. We can boycott Tesla, but we can't boycott the schools. And this is it. I mean, this is the price. This is the price of bigotry, but also it's the price of cowardice as well. You know, people like Stephen Fry, who should fucking know better. What's his name? Forshaw. Simon? Is it Simon Forshaw? Is it from Stonewall? Who again should know better. Simon Fanshawe, who should know better. You know, those who stayed silent when JK Rowling began this crusade, the media that platformed her, the politicians who pandered to both sides, the Wes Streetings of our country. I need to have a little pop-up that when Wes Streeting says anything, it gets cut across by Jean-Luc Picard saying, "Shut up, Wesley!" Liberals, we have to take some of the blame in this. Liberals who refuse to pick a side. I mean, that is it right now, because a lot of people, it wasn't their fault. They were pulled into this idea that they could be bigoted and prejudiced against a certain minority, but it was okay because it was all in the name of feminism. That argument's been blown out the water. Don't even bother arguing that you give a shit about women's rights when you're trying to make it more difficult for women who don't look traditionally feminine, I don't know, like an Algerian boxer perhaps, to use the bathroom, to use the toilets. There was a story the other week about two transphobes having a fight in a bloody women's toilets because they both thought each other was trans. And you'll see that more and more. Cisgender women are going to be affected by this. And it's going to be, just in terms of pure numbers, if not, proportions, but in terms of pure numbers, the number of cisgender women who are going to be discriminated against because of this discrimination in the air is going to be a lot bigger than the absolute number of trans women, because there aren't as many trans women. Simple as that. They're making a rod for their own back. They're being hoisted by their own petard. Big Marvinsky, welcome to Lone Star, my new friend of the channel. We got a big Marvinsky has joined the channel. If you'd like to join the channel, all you need to do is hit that juicy join button at the bottom of the video. Might be there, might not be there. If it is there, lucky you. You can join the channel and get a rose after your name, and you should get your name on the credits when I finally update them. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Anyway, so yeah, to tie all this back to the current moment, you thought this was just about pronouns, Now it's about whether disabled kids can get the help they need in school. That's the pipeline. That's the pipeline of bigotry. You start hating one group, and that hate spreads. And now disabled kids all over America will not be given the same opportunities that my partner Kat had. And that destroys me. That kills me. And it was all started by these fucking bigots who went, no, it's okay to be bigoted. Even if you regard yourself a liberal, it's okay to be bigoted. There. this isn't about books or bathrooms. It's more than that. It's about whether we let hate dictate the future, the next generation, and how they're treated. And God, this is so regressive. We're going back. We're going back to the old bloody days, aren't we? Of freaking going back to the old days of segregation, prejudice, of bigotry. And it's all been enabled. The Trojan horse was transphobia. So what can we do? We can support trans charities like Mermaids, etc. We can amplify the voice of disabled advocates and educators. If I can get some people on this show, maybe from America, I'll talk to my friends over there to see if we can get someone who works in teaching to talk about this. We need to push Labour. So if you've got a Labour MP, please write to them to be stronger on resisting culture war framing. It's all part of this culture war, Trojan horse. And you don't have to be a parent to care about this, because this isn't just about parents. This isn't just about the kids in schools today. This is about the future of our society. This is about the future of our civilization, which Trump and his cronies are trying to rip apart. Anyway, right. Let's get into your messages. Amy says, for the record, if you want to get out of the UK, Republic of Ireland is part of the Common Travel Arrangement, as well as the Isle of Man and Channel Islands. Yeah, I've got friends who are looking to move to the move to the Republic of Ireland for that very reason. What's the obsession with toilets? Diz, I don't know. Sorry, I lie. I'm going to answer that question, right? When I was growing up in the 80s, I grew up under Section 28, so you weren't allowed to talk about homosexuality in schools at all. Schools, books that had references to homosexuality were banned, and if you went up to the teacher and said that you had, feelings, you had desires for members of your own sex, the teacher wasn't allowed to even discuss it with you. They were not allowed to bring it up and talk about it as a normal part of human life, and that lasted until about 2003. It took Labour about 6 years to get rid of the bloody thing. And I grew up in that entire era, the entire era of Clause 28. And I as a kid, you don't realise, but I'll tell you some of the stuff that I heard when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. HIV was rife. AIDS was something that we were told affected gay people. It was a gay killer. In fact, when it first started, it was called GRIDS. It was called gay-related immunodeficiency syndrome. Like, it was gay was that there in the title, which wasn't entirely true, but it was one of the reasons why funding for research wasn't forthcoming from the Reagan administration in America. And in the UK, it was seen as the AIDS pandemic, the AIDS epidemic was seen as punishment, divine right punishment for people who were deviants, people who were gay, people who were drug addicts, and it was a horrible, horrible time. And one of the things I distinctly remember is whenever we were talking about toilets, boys' toilets, we were told that gay people hung out in the toilets, cottaging or whatever, and if you're not careful, they'll attack you in the toilets and sexually assault you. It never happened to me. If something like that was going to happen, it was generally done by a responsible person, someone who's given the responsibility to look after kids, priests, scout leaders, swimming instructors, etc. Parents seem less concerned. The boomer generation, they didn't seem to care that much about what happened to their kids. They were more bothered about their kids' choices in life than they were about. I mean, this is a generalization. But, my mum was pretty good because she let me do whatever I wanted to do to an extent. She allowed me to pursue my dreams. But yeah, a lot of boomer parents didn't seem to care what happened to their kids and what abuse their kids faced in school. Corporal punishment was still a thing just about when I started school, and all those things together. But they didn't seem to care. Like they only cared about your opinions, whether you were a Tory like them or whether you were straight like them, or whether they would decide who was an appropriate partner for you and try and control your life in that way. but at the same time, they put our generation into very, very um, dangerous situations, seemingly in the full knowledge that priests and the clergy were notorious for abusing children. Private schools, they still send kids to private schools. Ampleforth, where James O'Brien went to, I mean, they had a paedophile teacher there. James O'Brien, I think he had to testify against this teacher who abused his fellow classmates when he was a kid, and that school still exists. The school covered up for it, as they always do, just like the clergy covered up for the crimes committed by priests in the 1980s. But the blame was never put on them. It was always on, oh, gay people. Watch out, don't go in the toilet. A gay man will get you and give you AIDS. And the transphobes looked at this and they went, yeah, we'll have that. I say the transphobes. It wasn't the transphobes. It was the right wingers. It was the right wingers who are in thrall of Vladimir Putin. They looked at what they could get away with. They looked at what Vladimir Putin has done in Russia. Vladimir Putin often talks about the culture war shit, his anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, and it spreads. Bigotry spreads. It grows like a coastal shelf. Divide and conquer, says Jane Lockwood. Yeah, just realised the Harry Potter books, there were no disabled people at all, no blind, deaf, dumb, wheelchair users, etc. Well, Harry wears glasses. Don't know why he can't fix his eyesight using magic, but yeah, in the Harry Potter books, yeah, there's some really problematic parts of those books. I mean, they might not be as problematic as Mickey Rooney is in Breakfast at Tiffany's, but it's kind of up there. There's quite an offensive name given to a Chinese character in the books. There's a black character whose surname is Shacklebolt. Yeah, one of the few black characters, she decided to give him the surname Shacklebolt. Yeah, one of the people representing, I guess, in a way, the people who were enslaved for centuries by white people. Millions of slaves died on the passage across from Africa to the New World, and those who survived were treated so badly it makes me wince even just remembering what I've read about how they were treated. Abused in ways that make make what we call now crimes against humanity, make them look like a walk in the park. Honestly, that's how bad they were. And she gave him the surname Shacklebot. There's loads of problems. There's a ton of problematic shit in the Harry Potter books. Not least the fact that there's a ginger kid who's got two friends in school, and one of them's a girl. Anyway, moving on. Chris C says, in other news, Reeves is looking at cutting 11% from government departments next week, yet not calling it austerity. If it's government departments, I don't know. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Oh, that was sexy. Hey, hit the mute button. S. Collins says, in 2016, a Republican North Carolina governor lost because of making an anti-trans bathroom stand. He was beaten for ignoring the actual issues to just be a bigot, but sadly, he was just ahead of his time. Yeah. Well, once the progressives got on board, because don't forget, JK Rowling, she's fought for not just the rights of, the need for millionaires to stay in the UK and pay their bloody tax, but also she's fought for the rights of people coming up from other backgrounds, not just in the private school mafia pipeline. She's a statey, like most of us. So she didn't go to private school, and she was an inspiration. She was an inspiration in many ways, but then she just decided one day to be a massive transphobe, and it all fell apart. Now people are going to celebrate when she, all things being equal, if something horrible had happened a few years ago and she wasn't with us anymore, people would be really, really upset. I mean, people would be crying in the streets. There'll be flowers. It would be like Princess Diana all over again. That's how much she was beloved. I mean, it seems mad to think now, but 10 years ago, if her driver was drunk and was, went a bit too fast into a corner in a tunnel in Paris, and she wasn't wearing a safety belt. I'm pretty sure that the entire country would have a fucking day off in mourning. Now, after what she's done, people are going to be celebrating. People are going to be dancing in the streets. Our kids are going to have to see that. Francis says, my teacher abused me. I'm so sorry, Francis, to hear that. That's. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Big Marvinsky says, even as far into the 90s, it was a big deal for Princess Diana to be holding people's hands who had HIV/AIDS. Yeah. And Colin says, I remember when gay was using an acronym for got AIDS. Yes. I was actually thinking about that just then when I was talking about crids. That was a joke. It was a joke told in the 80s. With all the jokes about Freddie Mercury dying of AIDS, there were jokes about, and that was the world in which I grew up, where it was perfectly acceptable to be homophobic, where the gay kids were picked on in school routinely, which is just a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. And I think there is a generation my age of kids who, of adults now, who have never really settled on their sexuality, because those years when maybe they should have been experimenting and seeing what they liked and seeing what they desired, they couldn't find out because that route was blocked off to them because of the shame it would have brought to their family, the fear of being kicked out of their peer group, being defriended, not in a Facebook way, but in a very real way in school. I'm really sorry to read these stories. It's really sad. Scott says, my kid and most I know, no issue, I don't think, with people of different sexualities, religions, genders, colours. Such a move forward from my previous generations. Yet here we go backwards. Yeah. And that's what's really scared. And that's what this is what's at the actual the nucleus of all this, right? Fear from the right wing looking at generation coming up and shitting themselves in fear because the generation coming up, as Scott said, no problem with different sexualities, different religions, different genders, different colours, whatever. No problem at all. And they see that and they go, fuck, we're never going to get into power again. It's the only people voting for us are the boomers. They looked at the same charts we did, where you can see the millennials becoming more and more left-wing as they get older, and Generation Z following that same pattern. And so all these right-wingers, very rich right-wingers, got together and said, right, we have the money, because they have all the fucking money, we have got fuck all. We have got the money. Let's go after Generation Z. Let's make it so, no, we're not going to allow them to be all, happy-go-lucky in school. We're going to teach them to be horrible little bigots. We are going to plow millions, billions of dollars and pounds and euros into right-wing parties, into online influencers who are funded up the kazooie. Thank you very much to One Angry Pagan for the £5 super chat. I hate to say this, but I'm actually glad my late trans friend Libby is no longer here to see this. She would have not handled this well at all. Fucking hell, One Angry Pagan, that's an awful thing to have to say. That is devastating. That is absolutely devastating. Mate, I don't agree. I don't agree. I would rather your friend was still with us. Whatever happens, I'd rather your friend was still with us. Really, honestly. Every life has value. And if people are just getting on with their life and they're not harming anyone, they're not actively harming someone, like what Trump and JK Rowling or whoever's doing, I mean, that life is precious. We're not here very long. What? How old's the universe? What? 13.8 billion years old. The planet that we sit on's been here for what, 4 or 5 billion years. And we're here for a fraction, a flash. That's it. And then we're gone again. We're just visiting. We're just visiting this life after years, millennia, billions of years of nothingness. And that's all that lies ahead. It's like it was before you were born. And we're here. We're here and we can make a difference. We might not realize it, but we might be someone's reason for getting up in the morning. We might be loved by someone we don't even know that we're loved by. We might have changed people's lives for the better in ways that we didn't even realize we did it at the time. I could give some examples where I've taken people to parties, or I've held a party and people have got together at my parties who wouldn't have met if they hadn't been at my party, and they're still together now. And there's kids that exist. The kids that exist now that wouldn't have existed had I not had that fucking party. I wasn't thinking about the consequences down the line. But every life has consequence. Every life can make things better, and we need more people. We need everyone. This is what I say to my friends who, when when we do feel the way that a lot of us on the left making this kind of content feel, which is like we're completely undervalued because no one with any money wants to support us. If we were right wing, and me and Femi laugh about this, especially Femi, if Femi was right wing, he would be a millionaire by now. He would have the #1 podcast on Spotify. He'd be a multi-millionaire by now if he was right wing. But like me, he's not. He has a strong sense of justice and what's right and what's fair and equitable. And so we're driven by this fucking, madness, which is why it's so grating when people on the left, not people on the right, I don't give a shit what they think. People on the left call people like me and Tansky and Aid and other people, they call us grifters. And we're like, what? Mate, the right are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money, right? Those on the left are just barely keeping their heads above water. Barely keeping their heads above water. And when it all gets a bit much and we have conversations, with each other, there's something that I always say, which is, we need you. It's not just that, it's a good thing that you're doing. We need you. I need you watching this. I need people watching it. I need people giving us a like. Give us a like, everyone. I need people watching this and sharing it with their friends. Otherwise, I can't keep doing it. I need you. And I hope in some ways that, you enjoy these shows and it's something that you look forward to in the morning. Oh, I'll listen to Graham ranting on about something for an hour. That's a good start to the day. But I think that every life has value and you just don't know. You just don't know. Life might be shit right now, but in 5-10 years' time, it might be completely different. I mean, for some people, life is great right now, but in 5-10 years, it might be completely different. You just don't know. You don't know the paths that are formed. You don't know all the different ways that we can get from A to B and all the adventures you might have on the way. I want to just tell a quick story. There's a friend of mine who I met up with a few weeks ago, and a few other mates came along to the pub. And they said, how do you know each other? And I was telling the story of how we met. It was just in a pub in Liverpool several years earlier. And my friend was dressed as an alien. I don't know, silver jumpsuit on, antennae. And I was like, oh my God, why are you dressed like an alien? And she's like, I'm going to a house party. And I'm like, oh, cool, can I come? And she's like, no, mate, just, I don't know you. It's like I was just literally getting a drink at the bar, and I'm a cheeky bastard. Anyway, a boyfriend comes over, and he's like, looks at me, and he goes, oh my God, you're Graham Hughes. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I followed your blog. I followed your story around the world. You're the guy who went to every country in the world without flying. And I went, yeah, that's me. And he said, oh my God. And then he tells me that I inspired him to go traveling. He was originally from Hungary. And I inspired him to go traveling. And had he not gone traveling, he wouldn't have met my friends. And they wouldn't be in that bar that night going to this house party and dressed up in fancy dress because it was an alien space themed house party. I ended up going to the house party, by the way. But that's not the point. The point is, you just don't know. You just don't know the relationships and the people who have met and the friendships that have been forged as a result of you not even thinking about, the consequences down the line. So yeah, I'd rather people are here. All things being equal, one angry pagan, I'd rather people are here than not here. Yeah, I've lost friends, and it's a devastation that I don't think I'll ever get over it. I don't think I'll ever get over it, and it plays on my mind. It plays on my mind, and it will do. I think for the rest of my life until I get dementia, I guess. YouTube is censoring my comments, says Serendipity Journey. Whoa, I'm sorry about that. I've tried to type the same comment 3 times in a row, and now it shows on my feed, but not yours. Shit. Sorry about that. Graham, do you still need an editor? Asks Svax. No, it's all right. I think one of our friends here is going to be putting videos up, little clips of me off this show on other shows onto TikTok, and I'm going to be trying to just edit some stuff together after I've done a show. Graham, that's awesome, says Anthony. It was just like, it was really cool. It was just a really cool thing. Like, if I hadn't done the thing that I did, that guy wouldn't have gone traveling, and he wouldn't have ended up in the UK. He wouldn't have ended up in Liverpool. Wouldn't have ended up in that. But it's mad, isn't it? I need these rants to calm me down for the day, and the people in the chat. Oh, Martin, thank you. I like the idea that my rants calm people down. It's like, I don't want you to like start the day and go, oh, fuck, everything's shit, because it's not. Like, it's not. You know, the sun is shining, as you can see. I can barely see my monitor. The sun is shining, and you know, there's things to live for. There's laughter and friendship and picnics, and there's good stories out there to hear and be told. And it's all part of the journey. And I know things are shit right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It is shit. But we're so much more than that. And at the end of the day, I always feel like if we succumb to the despair that these motherfuckers want to put us into, their state of despair, they fucking win. Fuck that. I'm not having Trump fucking win. I'm not fucking changing my life because of these knobheads. I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them every tooth and nail, you know, every tooth and nail that I have. But yeah, it's a difficult time. It is a difficult time, and yet I think this goes to everyone in the chat, everyone watching. You know, much rather have you here. Put it that way. I'd much rather have you here because we need you. We need you in the fight. Because we can't, if at the moment we're not outnumbered. I mean, the right wing are on the ascendancy, but don't forget, only 27% of the population of this country voted for Brexit. They're not in the majority by any stretch of the imagination. We need all the help we can get, and the more of us there are who will actually speak out when we see an injustice, the people who will actually say, "Oi," when someone is being discriminatory against people for being different. How dare they? How dare they? How very dare they? We need people who will speak up, and I think that most of the people watching this are the type of person who will say something, who will speak up. Good. We need you. Saves us exploding, says Scott. should we just have a quick look at the papers? What time is it now? It's 9:55. Actually, so if I move back a little bit, you see the box there? That's our new broadband, our new fiber broadband. That's literally being installed right now outside the house. And the guy is waiting outside the window for me to finish the show today because he needs to work on that box and he can't do it while I'm doing the show because obviously it's in the background of the So I'm going to be finishing at 10 o'clock on the knocker today because he needs to get in and finish the job. This is hilarious. I don't know if he's watching through the window. Has he finished yet? Has he finished? He's turned the bloody lights off. One Angry Pagan. Me shield at all your backs, dear Badger clan, says One Angry Pagan. Thank you so much, sir. So the new internet, right? It's let me tell you, it's 16 pence cheaper and 10 times faster. Thank you very much. Because it was supposed to be installed yesterday, but they didn't finish installing it. Vodafone are going to give me £6.10. Yeah, got a super chat from Vodafone. £6.10 compensation. Cheers, Vodafone. Actually, right, I'm not going to do an advert for them, but I quite like Vodafone, even though I don't use them for my mobile phone because it's more expensive. I use giffgaff. Vodafone gave me, when I traveled around the world, they gave me an internet dongle that worked from a laptop so I could get onto the internet anywhere in the world. It was just an untethered, no restrictions on it. It could get onto any mobile network in the world, and transmit what I needed to transmit. Very, very useful, especially in the world as it was in 2009 when no one had a smartphone, not least of all me. So we'll just quickly head over to the papers very briefly. There's this ugly motherfucker here. This is Norris. What's his name? David Norris. He finally admits he was there on the night that Stephen Lawrence died and did take part in the attack. Thug says he punched the 18-year-old schoolboy, but insists he was not the one who stabbed him. And this is dreadful, dreadful. Son of a drug dealer, son of a cannabis dealer in London, who made all his money by selling, nice, friendly cannabis, and used that cannabis money to pay off the cops when his son murdered a black kid. Yeah, nice. Luxury brands voice alarm over Labour's copycat plans. I don't know what that's about. UK sends message to Putin about deterrent over here. And happiness is believing your lost wallet will be returned. Yeah, well, sometimes it happens. My wallet went missing once at Glastonbury and I got it back. A couple of years ago at Glastonbury, I got back my SD card. I lost my SD card. One of the little postage stamp sized SD cards. I lost it on the ground at Glastonbury and it was found and returned to me. Unbelievable. Guardian, Keira Knightley from Atonement to Star Wars, her best films ranked. Miliband Tories betrayed next generation on energy, which is true because they banned onshore wind farms. And then we've got the Glastonbury tour. I just mentioned Glastonbury, and there it is. There's a Glastonbury tour. They're watching the sunrise yesterday for the spring equinox. I hope people get that reference and don't think I'm just being a creepy weirdo by whispering the word equinox into the microphone. My daughter, the tech bros and the algorithms don't decide how I parent. I do, says Bryony Gordon. Bet she went to a posh school. Council tax soars to a record high, but the service you get is still rubbish. This is rubbish piling up in Birmingham at the moment. And then we've got growth forecast halved and blow to PM. This is talking about growth. You put that all on the board and say everything. The most important thing is growth, and then you don't grow. It's a bit of problems. We've also got Sturgeon, Nicola Sturgeon, who's been cleared of all charges, although she is standing down as a Scottish MP. Later in the year, we've got the I paper there. Starmer threatens Putin with severe consequences if Russia attacks UK peacekeepers. Good. Starmer's 5% council tax rate shame. Well, what do you expect? I mean, Tories have done an absolute number, but we can get into this at 1 o'clock when we do the agenda. Sod the JFK files. Our special investigation solves a decade-old riddle. Triggers Broom the truth. Okay. Starmer has a change of heart on plan for boots on the ground in Ukraine. Police target the top 100 backs new metro campaign. Most dangerous men ranked, tracked, and jailed as force vows to make capital safer against to stop violence against women, which hopefully will be a good thing. Equinox isn't still going, is it now? Equinox, QED, World in Action, Smart TV, no more. Horizon might still exist on BBC Two. I don't know, but it was never as good as it was in its heyday. I mean, honestly, I was an 11-year-old kid and I was fascinated watching an episode of Horizon about bloody buckyballs. Buckminster Fullerene. Like, I'm watching an entire bloody episode, a 1-hour episode on the BBC about some scientific breakthrough that makes no sense to me because I'm only 11. But, fascinating stuff. I still remember it to this day. I was thinking Jean-Michel Jarre. Don't, says Billy. I watched Jean-Michel Jarre at the Pyramids for the Millennium. He did a gig at the Pyramids for the year 2000. And I was there. It was fucking great. Anyway, Anne Phillips says, I was only trying to help because you said tempting you too much. Any reference to balloons was purely coincidental. Excuse me, stealing jokes. I think we stop having fights in the chat, everyone. Just be nice. Anyway, I'll be back at 1 o'clock with the agenda. I'm Phil Morehouse, and we'll be talking, obviously, about the new benefits proposals by the Labour government. And the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. So join us for that. And until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Give us a like on the way out. We always like a like on this channel because it doesn't cost anything. And obviously, it helps us get picked up by the algorithm. Good old Al Gore and his rhythm. that man can dance. And yeah, I'll just say thanks for watching. See you at 1 o'clock. And until then, oh, by the way, before I go, I should mention the Friday Night Social is going to be early tonight. It's going to be at 6:30 till 7:30. Okay, so we're just having 1 hour because I'll be out tonight for a friend's birthday. So sorry about that, but you'll have to join us a bit earlier. So if you aren't seeing us for the agenda, we'll see you then, I hope. Otherwise, until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.